everyone. Welcome to Real Talk with Tia and Jill. We are so excited to be with you today because we're excited about next week.
Oh, aren't we though? This is the first leadership summit designed specifically for people in food that I've ever seen, which is obviously why we're doing it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's one where we hope our audience will just be able to pick up these bits on how do they move their culture forward? How do they become better leaders? How do they step into spaces that maybe they feel like they've been stepping in, but the dial hasn't moved? Or some people don't know where to start. We're hoping this leadership summit will give people insights, tips, inspiration, joy, all of the things for what they need to become better leaders, to move their culture forward. And we are excited about it.
Yes, we are. That's why today's show is all about like inside the summit. We want to share some of the how was it set up and why did we do these certain sessions, but also how do you get the most out of the summit?
Because we know there's a lot of meeting times with conferences and summits and all the above. So we want to make sure when you show up next week, you are equipped and ready to take on these insights and think about, right? What do you want to do after the summit? How do you want to take these insights and use them?
Yeah.
And so before we get started, I did put the link in the comments. So
already, look at you.
Already, I did it right before we started. It is in the comments underneath Real Talk. Of course, if you go to our LinkedIn page, you'll see it. If you go to our website, you'll see it. So it is everywhere. It's plastered everywhere. So if you have not signed up, please do. We have over 330 registrants as of like yesterday. So we are excited about more and more people joining us to be a part of the conversation.
Absolutely. I think it also shows this gap that we've had in the food industry for years, and that there are people who are also committed to be like, let's lean in. That is extremely exciting to see.
Yes. And if you are new here, then welcome. Catalyst Food Leaders, we are really on a mission to transform and empower how food industry leaders show up, how they show up as themselves, how they achieve more when they are themselves, and have the right leadership tools to drive business outcomes. It's what our leadership summit is based around, because we know we are hired, right? We go into our organization, we go into our jobs wanting to make the biggest impact, right? We want to be successful. We want to move the business forward. And many times, just like Jill said, this has been a gap in the food industry where we have been throwing people at problems, but we haven't actually been able to solve them efficiently, right? Effectively, so that they go away.
I would even add in, I think we've just learned to live with it.
Yes.
And we've become complacent with this is how it's just has to be, or the way it's been. And those days of work, and see minute progress doesn't have to be. But yet we've accepted that's as much as we can get.
Which is more. There is more, right? There's more. And when you equip your people with the right tools, you can get more.
It's incredible, right? The little amounts of input and how that shift creates way more.
Yes, absolutely. And for the people who are doing that, right? For our clients, for people we're partnered with, they see that movement. Right now, we have a leadership course going on, our boot camp, and just the impact each week continues to blow my mind with the feedback that we get.
It does. And that's the part where I never realized how much this was needed, because once again, being from the food industry, I just kind of sat in the space. You're like, well, if I try harder, if I work longer, if I do this or if I do that, we individually, yes, we are the problem, but there's help for that problem.
Right. Exactly.
But we have to step outside ourselves to be able to get that support that we need. And that's
Mm-hmm.
the part that I love that we do, because we've been there, we've done it, we've had the same type of problems that look like system and process problems and even people problems. But
Yes.
we've never had great solutions to solve those until now.
Until now, until now. So if this is your first time, welcome. We hope
Yes.
that you join us next week for our leadership summit. It's 11 a.m. Eastern to 3 p.m. Eastern, and it's a half day packed with amazing, amazing insights from leaders across the industry.
Yeah. And if you're listening right now, give us like a thumbs up in the comments if you are already registered or you are registering right now. We would
Yes,
love to know.
yes, we would. We would.
Mm-hmm.
So let's jump in a little bit into our topic. And our theme this year is advancing everyday leaders, driving extraordinary results. And we talked a little bit about why we're here. And I think this theme sums up exactly what we tackle is that we really look at the leaders and how they're leading people to drive those results. And Joe, you mentioned it earlier. Like we know we've been there. We have been on successful teams, had a leader come in, stop that progress just because there's been a shift in leadership. Same people on the team, right? Same teams trying to get work done, but we know that leadership can be a barrier.
Yeah. And I think this embodies some of the challenges we've heard people talk about,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's, well, I'm waiting for my boss or something else to happen before I can step into leadership. I need to get approval here, or I need to do this over here before I can step in.
Mm-hmm.
Or gosh, I don't think that's part of, like, I can't make the difference.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm just here doing my work. How can I make a difference every day?
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
why I really think this theme is so powerful, to be like, every single person can drive extraordinary results.
Yes. Yes. Oh, I love that. Right? Like I want you to take that in. Every single person can drive extraordinary results, right? Like you don't have to wait. Many, many times we're meeting people that are waiting. You don't
Mhm.
have to wait. You can be the catalyst.
Yeah, and it's also about the complacency we talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
there's been times I've shown up and work and I'm like, yeah, it's been good. It's good, but
Yeah.
perhaps you can sense the tone in my voice where there's something missing. There's something more. There's something that I'm longing for to get out of work that's more than what I have right now.
Right.
And it's there and it's possible,
It's
but it
possible.
also takes doing things different.
Exactly. And we hope that if you have not taken the steps, our leadership summit is your first step. If you have, we hope that you join us for your journey.
Yeah. And I think the other part around that is we really share this value that everybody can do this.
Yes.
Like we believe in you. And that sounds cliche, perhaps a little cheesy, but we do. Like
Mm-hmm.
we know every single person. And we've had people that we've encountered where kind of like, I wonder how this will go. But we know that they're here and they're showing up. So this is going to be great.
Yes.
And it
Yes.
might even be a slow start sometime because we're asking people to be outside their comfort zone, even at the summit.
Yes.
But when you are willing to put your toes over that line, it's amazing
Mm-hmm.
what's over there.
It is. And really, as an industry, it's one of the reasons why we only focus in the food industry is because we understand it and we know that we need everyone to step up, right? We need everyone to have these leadership skills and we know that everyone can, right? They can lead in their own way and as their own selves. And if we don't start to tap into those things, right, we're going to continue to have issues with retention and engagement and turnover and feeling burnt out, right, and stressed and overworked. All those things that many of us feel in the food industry. And like you said, we just have kind of accepted it until we get to a point of like full burnout. And then we lose those people anyway. Right.
Yeah.
So, like, how do we keep those people within our industry thriving and driving the results we want to see?
Yeah. And I think that's really the spirit that we captured when we were thinking about the sessions and selecting speakers.
Mm-hmm.
I know we've
Mm-hmm.
had a few people go like, how did you come up with these and what's going to be different about them?
Yes, yes. Our leaders, we really wanted to make sure that it was a diverse group of leaders that expand across functions, across levels and experience within the industry. And that's important because where you are in the food industry, right, you might need different insights, or we really value our organization to provide practical, relatable solutions. And so we want to make sure that the leaders that are a part of the summit, that we have covered those pieces. So that you can see yourself, right, in the leaders that are speaking and really be able to take away at least one or two action steps that you're ready to implement now after you leave the summit.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I see Tim put in can't wait, and we're one of the things we're excited about too are the sponsors for our summit. And Tim with
Yes.
Pure Biosciences is actually you're coming up in the talk today when we talk about what I'm looking forward to and excited about.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much for Tim. And I would even mention, especially Tim, with you saying hello and can't wait to be there. We were really also very mindful of the people that are supporting this summit and how they look at leadership and the importance of leadership, even how within how they support the industry. Some organizations that supporting the food industry, they're really only thinking about their products, right? And only that solve. But the ones who can actually integrate how leaders impact how their product is rolled out on site, right? How it's implemented, how it spreads across the organization from a sustainability standpoint and a standardization standpoint. Those are the organizations that think about leadership in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've also had some thoughts as we were designing this summit, is even within our sponsors. And Tim knows we've had conversations with him about how do we connect your product to leadership? Because we know when we're ready to roll out something new in the industry, if we don't have the right leaders, I know other people have the same thought. So I would love to hear it in the comments of, yeah, I know they're trying to roll out this new insert. It's not going to stick. And a lot of times people are thinking that because of the leaders who are working to implement and roll out new solutions versus the times that you think, oh, yes, this rollout plan is the right rollout plan for us. And so we feel like it's going to actually stick when we get to the end of onboarding. I don't know if you felt that before.
I was going to say kind of along those lines, as we were looking and inviting speakers and sponsors, really what you're talking about is we were looking for an alignment of values.
Yes.
That align with the theme of our summit, with putting people first and recognizing when we take care of people, profits come.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a really important aspect of our belief in why this is so important.
Yes.
And so even as we think about the different functions that you had talked about, right? When people come to the summit, they're going to see we don't have, we're more than food safety. Yes, we have some deep roots in food safety, but we work across operations, technical groups, HR, R&D groups, engineering, like all the functions in the food industry. And so we also wanted that reflected in our sessions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And really, even I love our fireside chat coming up with kind of our CEOs and our C-suite leaders, because you've all seen leaders where they're like, they can talk the talk, but do they walk the talk?
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I love is everyone we have in our sessions, they walk the talk.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's so valuable to hear, especially when we think about support from the highest leaders in our organizations.
Yes. 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 So many great insights coming out. I think that's going to be such a great session because, like you're saying, the ones that we have in our fireside chat, they've lived it, right? And they are living it currently.
Yeah, they are. Hello, Elena. Good to see you this morning.
Welcome. Welcome.
Yeah.
So as we think about how attendees get the most value from the event, when I think about really being present, right, and showing up and knowing, right, like you're here to collect information, and having a clear endpoint in mind. And when I say that, thinking through, we can't do everything, right? There's going to be a lot of insight shared during the 4 hours that we have together. What are you looking for, right? Where do you find that you need the most support when it comes to your leadership or when it comes to your culture, or even when it comes to moving business results forward, right? What is that thing you're struggling with? And have that in mind as you walk through the sessions at the summit next week.
Yeah.
That's what I would say the top ones to prepare.
Yeah. It's all about a little bit of preparation.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have something in mind of like, what do I want to get out of this? And then being open and curious.
Yes.
Because there are going to be many different insights and perspectives. And what you may originally be like, I'm not sure I'm going to follow down that path, but can you stick with it long enough to perhaps see what that new perspective is? And I think interact and engage.
Yes.
It will be incredibly valuable as other people are sharing in the chat. And I know we're going to have, well, one, interactive trivia, and we're also going to have polls and other things so that we can really help not only us, but our audience see visually even like where are people at? Where are systems at? Like let's gather some more information so we can get a better picture of what our industry is facing.
Yes. I would add to that, Jill, and say step outside of your comfort zone. So if you don't typically engage, right? If you don't typically speak up, if you don't typically share your perspective, we encourage you to do it during this time. Through our programs, we always make sure that people step outside of their comfort zone because that's where you grow. Right? If you feel nice and fuzzy and warm, then you're probably staying stagnant. Right? And it's okay to be there for a little bit of time. But if you're looking to drive different business outcomes, you have to step outside of what you've been doing. So we encourage you, if something feels a little uncomfortable to do, we want you to try it. We want you to try it. Try sending that chat, try sending that message, or that might even be connecting with some of the speakers.
Yeah.
Right? Connecting with the speakers before or after to say, hey, I really enjoyed this comment or this point. Let's connect to talk more, or I would like to have you in my LinkedIn network, whichever one that fits for you. But I would encourage you to take that next step.
Yeah. And, and I think about some of the common pitfalls that I've found myself in when I've been doing, especially online. I mean, I do this when I'm in person too, but right, I get distracted.
Oh, yes.
And especially online, I am very guilty of like, I'm going to have the webinar over here and then I'm going to clean up emails or do something over here. You know what? We get it. There's a lot going on. So I'm not going to say don't do that. But I do find like when I have things going on, like even to be able to pause and focus for a moment when I hear something that catches my attention.
Yes.
And maybe even the challenge, because I know I get the most out when I actually shut all other things down and just be present. But I think that also comes with having a plan. So when you're like, hey, out of session 1, this is what I'm hoping my takeaway is, we're more likely to show up and be present because we already know we're looking for something.
Right, exactly. That's preparing before, right? Knowing, hey, I'm really curious about this, or I want to ask these questions during the session, right? Because I'm curious about it. Being present, that helps you be present.
It does.
As a part. One of the things we like to do too in all of our gatherings together is this clearing. And it helps us be present when we're together in a virtual space. But I also use it when I want to be present at something like a summit or even going into a meeting where I feel like I have a lot on my mind, either a lot of to-dos or a lot of emails, or there's a really big meeting coming up the next day or later on in the day, and it's just on my mind. We actually practice a 3-step clearing. And the first part is sort of brain dumping all the things that's on our mind onto paper or into your notes app, or insert a space right into a Post-it note. Anything that's kind of pulling you away from a situation that you want to be present at, write it all down, because that actually tells your brain that, hey, I'm not going to forget about it. So I can think about something else because it's right here to remind me.
Yeah, it's like a mental sigh, like, ah,
Yes. Yes. And surprisingly, it works.
it
It
does.
works going into spaces. And it's, it's all your brain chemistry that's working to help you forget about this so you can focus on something else until it's time to come back.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second step is around breath work. And in our programs, we try a lot of different types of breath work that Jill introduces, which is amazing, because you never know what situation you're going to be in and what breath work you need to use. But it can be as simple as 3 deep breaths, right? To help center yourself in your space, in the room, right? In front of your computer, in front of the virtual summit. That breath work allows you to really start connecting with the environment that you're in. And then the third one is around your mindset. And we've been talking about, what do you want to get out of the session? But this mindset piece is all about, how am I showing up and acknowledging that, recognizing that, so you can move forward. And that might be, I'm feeling really overwhelmed today. I have a lot going on, even as I come into this summit, but I'm going to be present here. It's almost like the intentional decision, right? To say, let me acknowledge the way that I'm feeling. I'm excited, or I'm happy to be here, or I'm happy to have this time off to just even be present. Whatever it is on how you show up, that acknowledgement almost tells yourself it's okay, right? It's okay that you're overwhelmed in here, learning and investing in yourself. Mm-hmm. It's okay that you're happy and things are going well and you're investing in yourself.
Yeah.
So we also do that as a part of our 3-part clearing. Mm-hmm. Try it.
That really goes along with what Tim just dropped in. And this goes with anything in life. You get out of it what you put into it.
Oh, yes.
So yes. I always love that. That's a pretty, I don't know, easy equation to kind of figure out. Mm-hmm. Right. I know that. I mean, personally, I've been there too, where I put more into it, I get more out of it.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that's like the tagline for leadership, honestly.
It is.
Because if we're not going to become better leaders if we don't do something.
No. And I think even as you talked about like this investment in yourself, like taking this time as an investment in yourself, I want to even add to that, especially because Tim's on with us. But others have invested in allowing you to be here at the summit next week too.
Absolutely.
We are so fortunate that companies like Pure Biosciences and Safety Chain and Trustwell and Saldesia and QA Magazine and Food Safety Tech have all contributed so that we could do this summit. And that was monetary, and it's support, and it's all the things.
Yes, yes.
So you have other people investing in your development and growth as well.
Yeah. And it just shows how critical leadership is to our industry, right? And why we need to invest in our leaders and become better leaders in the space so we can solve more problems, right? Yes. That's what we're all trying to do.
Yes, we all believe in you to be there.
So, Jill, I'm curious, what are you most excited about when it comes to a session or a moment that we have coming up?
It is hard to narrow it down.
It is.
But there's 2 things that I really am nerding out over. One is really, it's the trivia that Pure Bioscience is doing.
Oh, yes.
Morgan and Tim and I were able to have lunch last week. And so we were brainstorming, and Morgan came up with, "Are you smarter than a sanitarian?" Which is fantastic. It's going to be these fun questions, and we all get to, it's like gamified, right? So like there'll be winners, and like we get to learn and laugh and all that together. I love that kind of stuff. We even do trivia like in the car when we're on road trips in my family.
Oh, so yes.
Doing trivia, nerd. So I am excited about that. And because I've been to, we've all been to different, whether it's workshops, in-person meetings, virtual ones, where, sometimes the sponsor, we're not able to highlight them as well as maybe we can and interact with them in a way that really helps us, interact. So I'm excited about this interaction and being able to do that. Yes. the other thing I'm excited about is like you and I, like we have this passion and belief about culture
Yeah.
and leadership.
Yes.
And I think in our industry, what we hear a lot is we talk about culture, 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 and there's like all kinds of things about culture. Yes, culture is what will drive outcomes, but leaders, it takes leaders to develop culture. And
Mm-hmm.
yes, we can get into all the little nuances of yes, there are micro cultures in our organization and cultures will be made whether we're intentional or not. But that's the whole point.
Yeah.
Leaders need to be intentional about building a culture that gets the outcomes we need.
Yes.
And that message hasn't been up in the front of the pack when it comes to how leaders and leadership development is the
Mhm.
most critical aspect of a business.
Yes, yes. I share that as one of the most things that I'm excited about when it comes to the summit is exactly what you're talking about. Because even yesterday, we have a lot of conversations about culture, about leadership. And even when we read others in the food industry that talks about leadership, that talks about culture, it's almost always missing the people leadership aspect. The fact that be, we have to have the tools to be able to build that culture and execute in a way to drive business results. And we kind of skip over the leadership. We say, oh, just communicate, right? Or just build relationships. But those things take skills to do,
Mhm.
right? And when you get really good at it and it become a competency, it's because you've been practicing and you know yourself better and you know your audience better so that you can communicate effectively or build those relationships effectively in safe spaces. And we sometimes skip over it like it's the easiest thing to do and we should just do it and culture is going to be fine, right? Along with it. And we know that that is not true. And so I'm excited about us really starting to think about leadership as really that tool. It's almost like this is the vehicle, right, to drive culture and therefore business results. If you don't have a vehicle, you're not going anywhere.
Mhm. Well, and all the things around us are like Six Sigma, data,
Mhm.
SPC charts, risk matrices. All of these things are tools to help people make better decisions.
Yes.
But yet, this is also where we sometimes forget about the people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And one of my favorite things is and beliefs that we have on, I don't know, I think it came up one day I said it and you were like, that's the quote. But it was right, there is no leadership, there is no business problem that cannot be solved with better leadership.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, truly think about that. There is no problem that can't be solved with better leadership.
Yeah.
Whether it's we don't have enough sales, well, how are we leading to connect better with our audiences and find clients and
Yeah.
show our value proposition? Like that's a leadership, those are leadership questions to
Right.
be asking. And
Right.
like what's getting in the way? Like it's leaders getting in the space, whether it's that, it's revenue, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
risk,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's turnover. Like
Mm-hmm.
as leaders, we're the ones who need to step in and ask questions
Yes.
and
Yeah.
reflect and think about the contributions we're making and others are making and where we aren't getting what we need to move forward.
Mm-hmm. And it's not just business problems when it comes to, retention engagement. Like those are really big things, right? And they're connected to culture. But it can be as simple as line time, increased
Yeah.
line time, or shorter sanitation, or like getting more cases out the door, or like you said, selling more product, or creating a new process and implementing that. Even those things that we traditionally think about as technical, whether it's marketing technical, engineering technical, even those problems we think are super technical has a people aspect to it.
Yeah.
And there are people, I mean, we've been around those people where we're like, oh, they're so smart, but they can't solve this problem because they don't have the leadership skills to do it, right? They might know all the technical pieces, and that's valuable. But if you do not have leadership, you're going to run into, you're going to run into a ceiling basically, and you're not going to be able to influence, you're not going to be able to implement the brilliant process that you came up with because you don't understand people, right? And you don't have
Mhm.
the tools to do it. So even when you're thinking, when we truly say there's no business problem that cannot be solved with better leadership, we mean all business problems, all
Yeah.
business problems.
And, and this stemmed from personal experience,
Hmm.
right? When I felt like, gosh, I'm struggling to sell food safety. Gosh, I'm
Yeah.
struggling to get my team to follow the SOP the same way everybody else has.
Hmm.
Gosh, I'm frustrated that we keep not getting our PMs done, or I'm frustrated, insert.
Yeah.
Usually it was, have we addressed the problem? Are we avoiding conflict?
Yes.
Have we
Mhm.
been clear on expectations? Have
Yes.
we actually communicated what we need in a way that was received? Like
Mhm.
all of that stuff. I don't know how many times well, whether it's clients or, my husband's in food, so I get to hear a little of that stuff too. But how many times it's because we have spaces where we have people not leaning in
Yes.
because of fear, scared, doesn't feel it's my place.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
nobody's going to tell that person over there, like they're leading us down the wrong track, or this
Right.
person's actions over here, like don't sit well with us. Like you have to step into that.
Mhm.
Those are the things that create the problems.
Exactly. Exactly. And
It's
sometimes,
not
like,
that Six Sigma's not working or this SPC chart, or, I mean, the hard surface pure bio product, like that works.
right. Right.
It's a leadership thing where we're maybe not applying it right or using it right. It's all
Right.
the other stuff.
Exactly. Or use it properly every time, right? That you need to. That's people, right? Processes can't exist by themselves. So I would say yes, our focus, our theme this year is definitely one of the most exciting pieces.
Clearly,
Um,
you can hear my passion about it. I'm
mhm.
so excited about it.
Yes, yes. And this is why we exist. This is why we created Catalyst, is to be able to have this type of impact on organizations.
Yeah.
I also want to just draw attention to the last session of the day. And that one is all around aligning culture with goals. And it is a great session to have there because it builds from the first two of driving business outcomes, right? And shifting into leadership and really focusing on those leadership, they have fantastic speakers. The last one really wraps it up for us, where you really can take these insights that you learned along the way and really start to apply it to your organizational goals. And many people sitting on the summit, they might not be responsible for the organizational goals, right? But you have your goals. And if by the end of the summit, you cannot say how your goals are tied into the broader organizational goals and how that's driving culture, right? And how you're building the skills to do that, if you can't answer that question by the end of the summit, we want to talk to you
Mhm.
because we want to talk more around how you can put together a game plan to make sure that you are accomplishing your goals, right? And how leadership is going to help you get there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I know they're all exciting, isn't it?
yes, it is, and I'm excited about that one because it really is. It really is going to be a session that will help bring the other two together and really help sum up the leadership summit.
Yeah. And once again, Tim, I agree with your comment, right? These concepts around leadership seem so simple, but
Yes.
it's not always easy.
No.
And sometimes we don't even have to say, I need to take action, but are we even aware of what's going on?
Yes.
So I think as Tia and I work with clients, there are definitely times where we have people who are like, oh, I see it. I'm
Mm,
not ready to step into that yet.
yes.
Of course,
Mhm.
we're going to talk around that a little bit too.
Mhm.
But that's one of the first things, to even recognize that the space that I'm at and this frustration I'm feeling, like what is actually there,
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
and naming it. You got to
Yes.
essentially kind of name it and identify it before you can actually do something about it. It's the classic, since we all like tools, it's, Problem solving definition 101.
Yes. Yes. And what do we typically skip over when we're doing problem solving? Getting a good detailed problem statement.
Yes.
And so we skip over that, right? We skip over the where am I, right? Am I even ready to move over to the next step? Or do I need to sit here and become more aware of how I'm feeling, how I show up, and the things I want to do differently, right? And the things I want to keep the same. We just skip over that and we try to take action when we really haven't aligned to what needs to happen.
No, and that's super funny as you say that, because I'm like, in problem solving, a lot of people actually skip over root cause too. So it's funny.
Yeah.
We go from concept to action.
Yes.
And then we wonder why it didn't work.
Right.
But along the path, that is all really leadership. It takes creating space, pausing, discipline, recognition to be like, we have not defined the problem.
See, just even connecting, right? Leadership with technical, you start to see how these processes exist, and they are fantastic. When you actually use leadership tools to get them done, the outcomes are just, they're amazing. They're sustainable, right? Yes.
So of course, when we do the summit, with the summit, we're not just there to have people talk at people.
Right.
Everything we do is about, what are you taking away?
Yes.
Whether it's, I've got something in my mind that I'm contemplating and it's sticking with me. It can be, wow, I have an action that I'm going to go take. Of course, that's part of what we hope. What is the action? Yes. It could be, I'm going to share with someone. So our real challenge to everyone who's coming is, how can you turn these insights and ideas into something actionable for you? Just one thing.
Yes, absolutely. And remember, even with Tim saying, right, you're going to get what you put into it is what you're going to get. This is what you're putting into it, right? You've showed up, you listened, right? You've taken down some notes. Now for you to really be able to pinpoint what is a takeaway, what is an action step you're going to do. And Jill, just like you said, the action step might be, I need to think about this topic a little bit more, right? I might need to bring people in with me to have the conversation, whether it's your one-on-one or bringing your team together, whatever it happens to be, that is an action, right? That might be your next action step. It doesn't have to be, what we kind of think about as grand action. No, what is your next action step, right? It's like eating an elephant, right? What is our next piece that you need to tackle? And that's really where you start to turn those insights into real lasting change within your organization.
Yeah. And, I go back to my personal experience. I've walked away from places with lots of notes and done nothing and thought, I didn't really get a great takeaway.
Yes.
Then started doing what are 3 things? And so whenever I would go, or even my team would go to things, it'd be, come back and just do 3 things. Share with the group 3 things, like something you want us to do, something you're going to do, and something you want the organization to do.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
And, if you get to the end and you're like, I'm not sure what my next step is, no worries. We actually do have some ideas to share with you. Yes. Not only from us, because clearly we're here to help support you. So we're going to share a little bit with you at the summit, but then also even some follow-up emails with some ideas and things for you to consider and think about. Yes. And even join. Yes. Ours, but also our sponsors. Because along the way, you're going to learn more about our sponsors and how their products support you as a leader and your organization. Yes. So your action might be, I need to learn more about one of our sponsors and set up a call with them.
One thing that I like to do is to do that action as quickly as possible too. So if it's like, oh, I need to connect with this person, go ahead and send off the email. Right? Go ahead and do it. Go ahead and set up that one-on-one, or, really think about what is that next immediate action that you're going to take. And we strategically place the summit within 11 and 3, right? Eastern time. It's so that you have some time afterwards to work on those action items, right? And really start moving some things forward. In the morning, you have some time to get your mind right, to be able to open it up and be curious, so you can take things in. So it was really designed. It's designed in this way for you to get the most out of our time together, and even afterwards, as you look to move your goals forward, right, and your leadership forward.
Yeah. Tio, as you talk about, it was designed to be this way. One thing we haven't shared with the group is we designed it to be virtual so that it was accessible.
Mm-hmm.
We know that it can be challenging to get travel budgets approved, to be able to step away. And so really we created this so that anybody can join from anywhere at
Yes.
any time.
Mm-hmm.
So as you even think about, who else in your organization or that maybe they'd be interested. And
Yes.
maybe they can't stay for the whole thing, but certainly invite them to kind of lean into leadership with you. It's
Yes.
almost like an accountability buddy within your own team, within your organization that you can recap with and have some support as you think about what are your actions to go forward.
Yeah. And that's such a great idea, Jill, like having an accountability partner that's sitting through the summit with you, because then you can bounce ideas off of, right? Like, so if you're listening and you do not know anyone else that's going to the summit, find an accountability partner, right? Invite someone with you. Because that's a great fit.
Check out the conference room in your space. You all bring your computers there. You can put us on the screen. You can do your thing. People know where to find you. Bring lunch in or bring it from home, whatever, right? Like you can make it an event even in your own location.
Yes. That's such a great idea.
I should have done that on a social post. What was I thinking?
I know. There's still time. We should
There's still time.
Put out that idea. Because having accountability partners, right, helps us make that lasting change. Keeps us on track. And there's something else that you said, like even with this day that I really liked. I really like that accountability partner. And the accessibility, right? Like that's really important right now. Right. Having it accessible to people. It's free this year. So like, you don't have to worry about that. Like, this is what is needed right now. And we're happy that we're able to provide this. And we're happy that we're able to have wonderful sponsors to help us be able to put this together and be able to offer this to you. So yes, grab your accountability partner. Yes, I love that idea. And register, link is there. And then if you can't stay the whole time, right, because we know things come up or fires come up, like we know our industry, right? Things happen and you might have to step away. It's going to be recorded. So make sure you register so that you can get that information afterwards. And for the people that can stay, right, you could take a look at the recording and just go back to, I really like the way this was said. Let me go back and listen to it again so I can develop my plan from it. Because you should be taking action afterwards.
Yeah. Whew. I know. It's amazing because before setting up this summit, we've all been invited to summits and virtual events. And you kind of think, yeah, you show up. On this end, I love how much intention we've put into kind of, I'm going to say, cultivating, curating each session, each speaker, each sponsor to make this a really amazing event.
And I would say it's on brand, right? That's what we talk about, being intentional, because we know when we show up as intentional leaders, the outcomes are so much better.
Yeah.
Right. They're so much better. And that's what we wanted to build into the summit. That's what we build into all of our programs, really. And the things that we do, we're really intentional about the structure, the vibes, right? The people that's involved and the message so that you can really walk away with that takeaway in that action.
Yeah. Those are our values. We make it real, we're relatable, we bring the wow, and we bring it together.
Yes, we do. It's woven into the things that we do, and we hope that you enjoy it. We look forward to hearing your feedback around the summit. We look forward to recapping after the summit as well. And yes, please register and be there with us and bring your questions. And yes, we have a lot of engagement tools as well to participate in.
Absolutely. Yes. So hopefully today you get a little bit of insight on what next week will be like, how to
Mm-hmm.
prepare, how to bring some buddies along so that you all can learn, grow, and be there together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, Elena, thanks for putting too. You put in the chat around a reminder of the importance of the five whys
Mm.
when we were talking about linking technical and leadership. So true. And I've been in a five why, and everyone's trying to jump down. No, 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 no. Let's go through the process, right? And that's really all about leadership. So we hope that you get that from our summit next week.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us today.
Yes.
Appreciate that you took the time to be here.
Yes, absolutely. Real Talk is every Wednesday at noon. Next week, you all know where we're going to be. We're going to be in the summit, so we won't have Real Talk, but we will have our leadership summit. And then we'll see you afterwards for a recap.
Yes. Yep. So make it a great week, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, everyone.